Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's look at her nakshatras. Nakshatras are like signs, but instead of dividing the kundali, the sky, into 12 signs, we divide it into 27 parts. And each of those 27 parts is a planetary ruler, just like the signs do. Kamala is in a Rahu dasha and a Ketu subperiod of that dasha. We take these planets and look to their nakshatras and the rulers of those nakshatras. And those rulers are Mars and Venus. In her chart, Mars and Venus are 12 houses away from each other in her birth chart. 12 stands for loss, as in the 12th house, which is 12 houses away from the first house of life or birth. This harms her success during this time. It might just mean that Trump will lie about her and her family. Trump was in Rahu Dasha when he was elected, and he's still in Rahu Dasha. But his Rahu has great power in the Ravana configuration. That's Rahu in Taurus, and Ketu opposite in Vrishchik, Scorpio. When he was elected, Rahu was transiting over his birth Rahu for greater power. He's born with the Rakshasa configuration, and it was repeating itself in that Rahu return. That's not happening for him this time. Jupiter rules Kamala's 10th house of power in the world. It is in her 12th house at birth and on election day, and it's retrograde. Not that great for power on election day, but there are other factors. Her ascendant ruler is Mercury, so she is Mercury, and it dwells in her 6th house of obstacles election day. But Rump's ascendant ruler is the Sun on election day. The Sun is debilitated, totally weakened. Rahu casts its rays onto her Mercury there. Ketu is in her 4th house that day, harming happiness. Saturn casts its rays onto her 11th house of fulfillment of desire. Saturn slows things down. Her 9th house of good fortune is ruled by Saturn. Saturn dwells there in its own house on election day, bringing good fortune. So there's some good and some bad. No chart is perfect. Sounds like the Republicans are going to have to do what they do best: cheat in the election, just like last time, and rebel if they lose. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is already having a psychotic fit. He says asking Biden to stop down is illegal, and that giving the campaign funds to Kamala Harris's run is illegal. And both are lies. Surprised? A year ago, the Republicans wanted to impeach Biden because he was unfit for office. Whatever happens, they're against it. Now, they want him to run, evidently. While they're saying he's unfit to be president, they're trying to keep him in the race. That shows they're scared to death of Kamala. While Biden tried to unite, Kamala prosecutes. She's too tough for them. They're not used to this. They're used to soft-spoken Joe Biden. But now Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is saying that they're asking the Democrats asking Biden to step down is illegal. They're scared of her. So what they'll do is start lying about her the way Trump lied about President Biden and Hillary Clinton. The crime families. So it will be crooked Kamala now. And whatever else they can dream up, like maybe demand to know what's in her laptop and accuse her of being in a crime family or having a pizza joint where you do strange things to children, the way they did with Hillary. And accusing her of being in a crime family, you know, a federal prosecutor. And how about that? A federal prosecutor running against a convicted felon. They don't like it. And how does this happen in this government? That a convicted felon can even run for office. They can't vote. And how is it that Nikki Haley, when she was running for president, that she can rip Trump into shreds in the worst way, condemning him for his crimes, and then when Trump gets the nomination, praise him as the greatest president of all time? It's like she's scared of him and how he will retaliate for the things she said when she was running for office. So now he's the greatest person in the world to her. J.D. Vance, running with Trump as vice president, did the same thing. Then he did an about-face. Trump heard what Vance said, all about him. So why is he asking Vance to be the vice president? That's a curiosity. It sounds like he wants to drag these people around him so he can have power over them and keep them under constant threat. Vance, and that's, by the way, what a Rakshasa would do, playing tricks with people that way. There's a scene in, is it the second Star Wars that came out, of this giant, monstrous, fat, subhuman who had Princess Leia in a skimpy outfit and a chain around her neck. He was keeping her prisoner. Vance is most famous for turning down the bill on protection of abused women and shouting, if they're battered, we should ask what they did to deserve it. Well, Mr. Vance, women are weaker than men. They have smaller, weaker muscles anyway. It's kind of like throwing your poor defenseless pets into a hole and shooting and killing them. Well, that was Kristi Noem from South Dakota, the pet killing state. The new federal law passed 2 years ago, unanimously in Congress, states that cruelty to animals is a felony and a federal crime unless the animal is dangerous. So she had no choice but to lie and say the dog and the goat were dangerous. And millions of people calling themselves Christians know absolutely that a fertilized egg is a soul, that the soul is just flesh, apparently, and that a miscarriage is murder and punishable by death for the woman, and that a convicted rapist felon is the second coming of Christ because he's going to universally put a stop to the removal of these fertilized eggs because it's murder, and have those women who terminated the pregnancy murdered. This is the rising insanity in the nation. Meanwhile, all of the supporters say he never committed any crimes because he said he didn't commit them. This is the rise of insanity in the world, and it includes about half the world. This is the insanity of a divided nation. That's why they're divided and why they don't like each other. And the other half have their own problems. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren ran for president in 2020. She wanted to use our tax money to give prisoners imprisoned who wanted sex change operations. The Queen of Woke. Biden invited a man dressed as a woman to the White House dinner and thinks parents should support their children when girls don't want to be girls anymore. In fact, he supports all violation of the laws of nature. One reason for the rise in insanity might be that a great purification is going on. And as it does rise, the planet becomes more pure as the golden age of Satyug gets nearer. When Satyug finally comes, only the righteous shall survive, because only highly evolved souls can even breathe that rarefied spiritual atmosphere that will cover the earth. With this increased purity, most of the population will vanish when it reaches its breaking point. The intensity of purity will not allow them to survive here. Another reason for the rise in insanity is that those who worship Trump, the possessed demon, are possessed themselves. The ancient Vedic medicine and their texts state that insanity is caused by a spirit that comes into the body and takes over. That's one reason alcohol is called spirits. Drinking enough of it gets you into a bar fight in Marjorie Taylor Greene's hometown. Or you can even get blind drunk and kill someone. The next day you tell the judge, "Your Honor, I don't know why I killed him. It's like something just took over me." And he's right. But something had already taken over him at birth. He was born in North Georgia. Recently, one of those hillbillies in North Georgia, Marjorie Greene's territory, had to face a judge for marrying his sister. The judge asked him why he did it, and he said, "Well, Your Honor, she's the only girl I knowed." So go to the kitchen and bake a cake and have all your friends over for the celebration. The celebration of the end of all of this insanity. It's coming soon. Because very soon that insanity will flush all of the insane out of the Trump rallies and out of the Capitol building and into the streets to run and scream as the military shoots and kills Trump's hillbilly soldiers while the ocean is swallowing all of the coastal cities. That's pretty much what Mother Divine told Maharishi before he went on his world tour to make this world transition smoother. The details of Heaven on Earth are on my Patreon, because the casual listener would never believe any of it. It's also in my ebook. A demon like Trump always comes to power as Satyug approaches in order to try to stop Satyug. Kamala is hugely popular with half of the population now. Next, we'll see how Rump's chart looks. No matter how popular Kamala is, you have to wait and account for the insanity factor and how they'll try to sabotage the results of the election. That prediction is not from Jyotish. It's from those who were fully enlightened and could see the past, present, and future all at once. It's possible this big course that's going on in India, and it's growing up to 10,000 people at least, hopefully 11,000 for a slop factor, that is intended to ease the transition. And if they're successful and they have more of them they want to build all over India and a permanent group, then we'll see a different kind of phase transition. And maybe there won't be any violence. We'll have to wait to see what happens.